Have you ever been at a wedding where everything seemed perfect, but something felt terribly wrong? That's how Mia Delgado felt, weaving through the dazzling crowd at the Pierce wedding in Los Angeles. At 27, she wore a crisp white shirt, a red waistcoat, and black pants, her soft curls loose around her shoulders, the standard waitress uniform making her nearly invisible in the glittering ballroom. Chandeliers sparkled overhead, and the air carried the scent of roses and champagne. Mia balanced a tray of crystal flutes, her steps careful, her eyes sharp. Once a data analyst, she traded spreadsheets for serving trays to support her family after her dad's medical bills piled up. Her old life felt distant, but her mind still worked like a machine, catching details others missed. The guests, draped in designer suits and gowns, barely noticed her. To them, she was just another server, someone to hand their empty glasses to without a glance. Elena Voss, the bride-to-be, stood at the center of it all, radiant in a sleek white gown that hugged her frame. Her laughter rang out, sharp and practiced, as she leaned into Nathan Pierce, the billionaire groom. Nathan, in his late 40s, had a kind face, softened by years of success but shadowed by something heavier, maybe the weight of his wealth or the loss of his first wife. His 6-year-old daughter, Lily, clung to his side, her wide eyes scanning the room, a small hand clutching a stuffed bunny. Mia moved closer, offering drinks to a cluster of Elena's friends. Their voices dripped with condescension as they took the flutes without looking at her. "Can you believe this place?" one woman said, her diamond bracelet glinting. "Nathan's money makes it all so perfect." Another laughed, tossing her hair. "Elena's got him wrapped around her finger. She's set for life." Mia's jaw tightened, but she kept her face neutral, stepping back to refill her tray. She wasn't here to judge. She was here to work. As she crossed the room, she caught Elena's voice, low and clipped, speaking to a man in a dark suit near the edge of the dance floor. "It's handled," Elena said, her tone sharp, nothing like the sugary charm she'd shown Nathan. "The transfer's ready. Just keep it quiet until after the vows." The man nodded, his eyes darting around before he slipped into the crowd. Mia froze, her tray steady in her hands, but her mind raced. Transfer? But something about Elena's words felt wrong, like a puzzle piece that didn't fit. Mia's old analyst instincts kicked in, the part of her that used to spend hours untangling data to find hidden patterns. She glanced at Elena, who was now laughing with Nathan, her hand resting on his arm. Everything about her screamed perfection. Her smile, her posture, the way she tilted her head just so. But Mia had learned to trust her gut, and right now, it was screaming. She moved toward the kitchen, her steps quick, her eyes scanning the room for anything else out of place. That's when she noticed Lily, sitting alone at a table, her bunny in her lap. The girl's face was serious, too serious for a kid at a wedding. Mia hesitated, then approached, offering a small smile. "Hey, sweetheart," Mia said, crouching slightly. "You okay?" Lily's eyes flicked up, bright but wary. "You're not like the others," Lily said softly, her voice barely audible over the music. "You see things." Mia blinked, caught off guard. Before she could respond, Lily reached into her tiny purse and pulled out a USB drive, small and black, holding it out like a secret. "I found this." It was hers. She nodded toward Elena, who was now posing for photos. Mia took the USB, her fingers brushing against Lily's. "What's on it?" Mia asked, keeping her voice low. "I don't know," Lily said, her eyes wide. But she was mad when she thought she lost it. Really mad. Mia's pulse quickened. She slipped the USB into her pocket, her mind already spinning through possibilities. Data was her world, once. If there was something on that drive, she could figure it out. "Thank you, Lily," she said, squeezing the girl's shoulder gently. "You're really brave, you know that?" Lily's lips twitched into a small smile, but her eyes stayed serious. Mia straightened, her tray still in hand, and moved toward the service area. She needed a moment to think. The kitchen was a flurry of clattering dishes and shouted orders, but Mia found a quiet corner near the back. She pulled out her phone, an old model she'd been meaning to replace, and checked the time. The wedding was in full swing, the ceremony still an hour away. She couldn't plug in the USB here, not without a computer, but her mind was already working, piecing together Elena's words, the man in the suit, and now this drive. As she stepped back into the ballroom, she noticed Elena adjusting her earring, a delicate, dangling piece with a small gem that caught the light. Something about it nagged at Mia. It wasn't just jewelry. It looked off. Too bulky for something so elegant. Mia's analyst brain kicked into overdrive. She'd seen devices like that before in her old job, small, discreet tech that could hide microphones or trackers. Was Elena wearing something more than an earring? Mia's eyes narrowed, her suspicion growing, but she kept her face blank, moving through the crowd with her tray. She passed by Elena again, this time catching another snippet of conversation. The offshore account secure, Elena murmured to a different guest, a woman with sharp cheekbones and a tight smile. Once it's done, we're clear. Mia's heart thudded. Offshore account? This wasn't just a shady deal. It sounded like a plan to bleed Nathan dry. Mia's fingers tightened around her tray, her mind racing. She needed to get to a computer, needed to see what was on that USB. But she couldn't just walk away from her shift. Her family was counting on the money from this job. She glanced at Lily again, who was now standing near Nathan, her small hand in his. Nathan looked down at her, his smile warm but tired. Mia felt a pang in her chest. She didn't know them, not really, but something about Lily's trust, about Nathan's quiet kindness, made her want to protect them. She moved closer to the head table, where Elena was now seated, her earring glinting under the chandelier light. Mia's eyes locked on it, her suspicion hardening into certainty. That wasn't just an earring. It was a key to something bigger. "Excuse me," Mia said, offering a flute to Elena, her voice steady despite the storm in her head. Elena barely looked at her, taking the glass with a dismissive wave. "Thanks," she said, her tone clipped, her eyes already sliding back to the crowd. Mia lingered for a split second, studying the earring up close. The gem was too large, the setting too clunky for a piece meant to be purely decorative. She stepped back, her mind buzzing. She needed to act, but she had to be smart about it. One wrong move, and Elena would know someone was onto her. Mia slipped back into the crowd, her tray empty now, her thoughts racing. She needed to find a way to access that USB, to confirm what she suspected. The wedding was moving fast, the ceremony was getting closer, and whatever Elena was planning, it was tied to those vows. Mia's eyes flicked to Lily, who was watching her from across the room, her small face expectant. Mia gave her a subtle nod, a promise she wasn't sure she could keep. But she would try. For Lily. For Nathan. For the truth. As she headed toward the service area again, she overheard Elena laughing with another guest, her voice light but her words careful. "Everything's in place," she said, her smile never wavering. "By tonight it'll all be perfect." Mia's stomach twisted. Perfect for who? She clutched the USB in her pocket, her resolve hardening. Whatever Elena was hiding, Mia was going to find it. And she was going to stop it. Mia stood in the service area, her fingers still clutching the USB in her pocket, Elena's words echoing in her mind, "Everything's in place." The ballroom hummed with music and laughter, but the weight of what she'd overheard pressed against her chest. She glanced at Elena, now gliding across the room, her white gown catching the light, her earring glinting with every turn. Mia's suspicion about that earring was no longer just a hunch, it was a lead. She needed to see what was on that USB, and she needed to move fast. The ceremony was minutes away, and whatever Elena was planning, it was about to unfold. She slipped into the kitchen, her tray abandoned on a counter. The chaos of clattering pans and shouted orders gave her cover. She spotted a laptop on a manager's desk in the corner, used for inventory. It wasn't much, but it would do. Mia glanced around, then sat down, her hands steady as she plugged in the USB. The screen flickered to life, revealing a folder labeled EV Plans. Her heart raced. Elena Voss. She opened it, her eyes scanning files, bank records, encrypted emails, and a blueprint labeled Device. Mia's breath caught. The blueprint showed a tiny chip, small enough to fit inside an earring, capable of transmitting data. Her data analyst instincts kicked in, piecing it together. Elena was using the earring to hack Nathan's accounts, likely during the ceremony when everyone was distracted. Mia's fingers flew across the keyboard, copying the files to a cloud drive she still had access to from her old job. She didn't have time to read everything, but the numbers in the bank records, millions, wired to an offshore account, told her enough. Elena wasn't just after Nathan's heart, she was after his fortune. Mia ejected the USB and tucked it back into her pocket, her mind racing. She couldn't confront Elena alone, not without proof everyone could see. But she had the files, and she had Lily's trust. She needed to act now. She stepped back into the ballroom, her eyes locking on Lily, who was standing near the stage where the officiant was preparing. Nathan was nearby, adjusting his tie, his face a mix of nerves and hope. Elena was across the room, laughing with guests, but her eyes darted to her phone, her fingers tapping quickly. Mia's pulse pounded. She had to get to Nathan, but Elena's friends were everywhere, watching like hawks. Mia moved through the crowd, her waitress uniform blending her into the background, her steps deliberate. She reached Lily first, crouching beside her. "Lily," she whispered, "I need your help. Can you get your dad to come to the side room? It's important." Lily's eyes widened, but she nodded, clutching her bunny tighter. "Okay," she said, her voice small but firm. Mia watched as Lily tugged at Nathan's hand, pulling him toward a quiet alcove near the stage. Mia followed, her heart in her throat, the USB burning a hole in her pocket. In the alcove, Nathan looked confused, his kind eyes searching Mia's face. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice low. Lily stood beside him, her small hand in his. Mia took a deep breath, her voice steady despite the stakes. "Mr. Pierce, I'm Mia Delgado, one of the wait staff. I found something you need to see." She pulled out her phone, opening the cloud drive with the copied files. "These are from a USB Lily found. It belongs to Elena. She's planning to steal from you, millions wired offshore. And that earring she's wearing? It's not jewelry. It's a device to hack your accounts." Nathan's face paled, his eyes flicking to the ballroom where Elena was now walking toward the stage, her smile perfect. "That's impossible," he said, but his voice wavered. Mia held up her phone, showing the blueprint of the earring device. "I used to be a data analyst. I know what this is. She's been planning this for months." Nathan's jaw tightened, but before he could respond, Lily spoke up, her voice trembling but clear. "She's not nice, Daddy. I heard her talking about taking our money. I didn't want to tell you because I was scared." Nathan knelt beside Lily, his hand on her shoulder. "You're so brave, sweetheart," he said, his voice thick. He looked at Mia, his eyes hardening with resolve. "What do we do?" Mia glanced at the stage, where the officiant was signaling for the ceremony to begin. "We need to stop the wedding. I can show the files to everyone, but we need to scan that earring to prove it's a device." Nathan nodded, his face set. "Do it." Mia led them back to the ballroom, her heart pounding as she grabbed a small scanner from the venue's tech booth, used for checking equipment but capable of detecting wireless signals. She moved toward the stage, where Elena was now standing, radiant and poised, the crowd settling into their seats. Mia's hands shook as she approached, the scanner hidden in her palm. She needed to get close without Elena noticing. "Excuse me, ma'am," Mia said, her voice polite, stepping near Elena with a glass of water as a pretext. Elena barely glanced at her, waving her off. Mia activated the scanner, holding it near the earring. The device beeped softly, confirming a signal. Mia's stomach flipped. She had proof. She turned to Nathan, who was now at the edge of the stage, his face grim. But before Mia could speak, Lily ran forward, her small voice cutting through the murmurs of the crowd. "She's lying," Lily shouted, pointing at Elena. "She's trying to take Daddy's money." The room fell silent, all eyes on Lily. Elena's smile faltered, her hand flying to her earring. "What are you talking about, darling?" she said, her voice sweet but strained. Mia stepped forward, her phone in hand, the files pulled up. "She's right," Mia said, her voice loud enough for the crowd to hear. "I have evidence. Bank records, emails, and a blueprint of the device in her earring. She's been planning to steal from Nathan Pierce." Mia held up the scanner, its light blinking red. This confirms it's transmitting data right now. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Elena's face went pale, her eyes darting to the exits. Nathan stepped onto the stage, his voice steady but cold. "Elena, is this true?" Elena laughed, a nervous edge to it. "This is ridiculous. She's just a waitress." But the crowd was murmuring now, phones out, some already calling security. Mia held her ground, her eyes locked on Elena. "Then let's check the earring," Mia said. "If I'm wrong, it's just jewelry." Before Elena could respond, security guards pushed through the crowd, alerted by the commotion. Nathan nodded to them, his face unreadable. "Take her to the side room. We're checking everything." Elena's composure cracked, her voice rising. "You can't do this. Nathan, you know me." But Nathan turned away, his arm around Lily, who clung to him, tears in her eyes. In the side room, the guards removed Elena's earring as Mia showed Nathan the files on her phone. The blueprint matched perfectly, and the bank records showed transfers set to trigger after the vows. Elena's protests grew weaker, her face crumpling as the truth sank in. Within minutes, police arrived, alerted by one of Nathan's associates in the crowd. Elena was escorted out, her gown trailing behind her, the crowd whispering as she passed. Nathan turned to Mia, his voice quiet but firm. "You saved me. And Lily, I don't know how to thank you." Mia shook her head, her chest tight. "I just did what was right." Nathan's eyes softened. "You're more than a waitress, Mia. I could use someone like you at my company. Data analysis, security, name your role." Mia blinked, the offer catching her off guard. She glanced at Lily, who smiled up at her, her bunny tucked under her arm. The wedding was over, the guests dispersing, the ballroom emptying. Mia stood in the quiet, her uniform still crisp despite the chaos. She thought of her family, the bills, the long nights. Nathan's offer was a lifeline, a chance to step back into the world she'd left behind. She looked at Lily, then at Nathan, her mind racing but her heart steady. "I'll think about it," she said, her voice soft but sure. She wasn't just a waitress anymore. She'd stopped a fraud, protected a family, and maybe, just maybe, found a new path. A week later, Mia stepped into the sleek, glass-walled offices of Pierce Enterprises, her first day as a data security analyst. She'd traded her waitress uniform for a navy blazer and slacks, her curls loose, her steps lighter than they'd been in months. The office buzzed with quiet energy, screens glowed with streams of data, employees moved with purpose, and the air carried the faint hum of air conditioning and coffee. Nathan had set her up with a corner desk, a powerful laptop, and full access to the company's security systems. "Your job is to find the weak spots before anyone else does," he told her during orientation, his tone serious but laced with trust. "What you did at the wedding, that's the kind of instinct we need." Mia nodded, her old analyst skills already stirring, eager to dive back into the world of patterns and puzzles. She threw herself into the work, her fingers flying across the keyboard, sifting through code and financial records with the same focus that had once defined her. It felt like waking up after a long sleep. The numbers, the data, the logic. It was her language, and she spoke it fluently again. Her colleagues noticed, too, offering nods of respect as she flagged vulnerabilities in the system within her first few days. But it wasn't just the work that grounded her. Lily started visiting the office after school, her backpack slung over one shoulder, her bunny tucked under her arm. She'd sit near Mia's desk, coloring or reading, her presence a quiet reminder of why Mia had acted that night. One afternoon, Lily slid a drawing across Mia's desk, a stick-figure version of Mia in her red waistcoat, holding a glowing USB drive like a superhero. "This is you," Lily said, her voice shy but proud. "You saved us." Mia's throat tightened, her fingers brushing the paper. "You were brave too, kid," she said, ruffling Lily's hair. "We did it together." In the background, Elena Voss's world unraveled. News reports filled Mia's phone during lunch breaks, detailing Elena's arrest for fraud, wiretapping, and attempted theft. The earring, confirmed as a data-transmitting device, was the prosecution's star evidence, its tiny chip capable of siphoning millions from Nathan's accounts. Mia read the updates with a mix of relief and unease, her mind flashing back to how close Elena had come to succeeding. Local blogs and news outlets picked up the story, calling Mia the waitress who stopped a con. Strangers in her neighborhood started nodding at her, some even stopping to shake her hand. "You did good," an older woman at the grocery store said one day, her smile warm. Mia brushed it off, her cheeks warm. She hadn't done it for attention. She'd done it for Lily's wide eyes, for Nathan's tired smile, for the truth. At home, the change was tangible. Mia's new salary meant her dad's medical bills were no longer a looming threat, and her mom could cut back on her second job. One evening, as they sat around the kitchen table, her mom reached for her hand. "You're back to being you," she said, her voice thick with pride. Mia's younger brother, usually quiet, grinned. "You're like a detective now," he said, making her laugh. The weight of the past year, the hospital visits, the late nights, the endless worry, felt lighter, like a knot slowly untying. Mia could breathe again, could see a future where she wasn't just scraping by. Lily, too, was healing. She laughed more, her visits to the office filled with chatter about school or her bunny's imaginary adventures. Mia made a point to check in with her, asking about her day, listening to her stories. One evening, as Mia walked Lily to Nathan's car after work, the girl stopped and hugged her, her small arms tight. "You made us safe," she said, her voice muffled against Mia's jacket. Mia knelt, her eyes meeting Lily's. "You helped make it happen," she said. "You're stronger than you know." Nathan, watching from the car, gave Mia a nod, his expression one of quiet respect. Nathan's trust in Mia grew. He called her into meetings, valued her input on security protocols, and even asked her to review new hires for the tech team. "You've got an eye for details," he said one day, leaning back in his office chair. "I should have met you years ago." Mia smiled, her confidence steady. The office became her new home, a place where her skills weren't just useful but celebrated. The community's respect followed her, too. Neighbors waved, her brother bragged to his friends, and even her old co-workers from the catering company sent her messages of awe. Mia Delgado wasn't just a waitress anymore. She'd exposed a fraud, protected a family, and carved out a new path. Her family's relief, Lily's bright smile, and Nathan's faith in her were proof of what she and Lily had done together, a strength that rippled beyond that chaotic wedding night. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, hit that like button, share it with someone who loves a good twist, and subscribe for more cinematic tales that hit you right in the heart. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from.